The gate was chained shut when we got there, chained from the inside. And I kept thinking, if she ran, who locked it behind her?
That's the father of a missing bride speaking to a Carabinieri officer in June of 1999, the morning his daughter didn't show up to her own wedding.
Chained from the inside.
Her overnight bag was still packed in the house. Her bicycle turned up in a ravine a week later, and her body would not surface for another 25 years.
25 years? Where was she?
Buried 1.5 meters down under her own family's olive trees,
On their land?
on land that never left the family's hands. Welcome back to the Cold File. I'm Jake Morgan.
And I'm Dr. Christy Hart. Call me Christy. And I'll be honest, Jake, I read this file twice, and both times I stopped cold on the same line. She was fitted for the dress. She was 2 days out. Whatever she found, she thought she had time.
You came in buzzing today. I could hear you humming through the booth glass before we even sat down.
Because this one's a puzzle box, and you know I can't leave those alone. So let's start where she started, with a page in a ledger that didn't sit right.
So set the stage for people. Castelverano, it's a hill town in Basilicata that's the instep of Italy, the interior, an hour from the nearest rail line.
The kind of place where everyone's known everyone for 4 generations.
More than that, this is a place where families still hold land through dowry contracts written a century ago. The notary's office knows every deed in the valley by heart.
Okay, that's important, right? Because in a town like that, land isn't just money, it's lineage. It's who you are.
It's everything. And Assunta Bellofiore worked at the very center of it.
She was a clerk at the notary's office. Tell me about her, Jake. Before all of this, who was she?
27 years old, sharp. The colleagues who knew her all say the same thing. She was the one who caught the mistakes. If a stamp date was off, if a signature didn't match a prior filing, Assunta found it.
Oh, I love her already. She was a details person.
Formally trained, she'd done the coursework, she understood land law better than half the people whose deeds she processed.
And here's the thing that gets me. That's the trait that killed her. The exact skill that made her good at her job is the thing that put her in the ground.
Hold that thought, because you're getting ahead of the timeline.
I always do. Reel me back.
She was engaged 2 days from her wedding. Fiance's name was Domenico Losurdo. Local family ran a restaurant in town.
What was the match like? Love match, arranged, somewhere in between.
By all accounts, a real relationship. But this is Castelverano, so a wedding is never just 2 people. The marriage would finalize Assunta's legal claim to her share of the family land.
Wait, the wedding transferred the land?
Under the dowry structure, yes. Once she married, full legal title to her portion of the Bellofiore terraces would sit with her.
Okay, so somebody's clock was ticking. If you had a reason to not want Assunta holding that title, the wedding is your deadline.
Now you're on the timeline.
See? I can be trained.
June 12th, 1999. It's a Saturday evening. Assunta is at the notary's office, on her own time, mind you, 2 days before her wedding.
On a Saturday? Before her wedding, what is she doing there?
She's cross-checking her own family's land registry, and she tells a colleague on her way out that she'd found, her words, problem pages,
Problem pages. Plural.
and that she planned to raise it with her uncle before the wedding.
Her uncle. Okay, park that name in big neon letters, because you just introduced the person she was going to confront.
We'll get deep into him. She leaves the office at 7:40 in the evening.
And that's it? That's the last confirmed sighting?
That's the last time anyone outside her family admits to seeing Assunta Bellofiore alive.
She rode a bicycle, right? You mentioned the bike in the ravine.
She did. That was her way to and from the office. So picture it. 7:40 in the evening, June still light out. She cycles home toward the family compound.
And the compound is the family land, the terraces.
The compound sits on the Bellofiore terraces, yes. It's where she lived, where her father lived, where the wedding was staging out of.
So this is the detail that's going to haunt me all episode. She's about to be married, her bag is packed, and she rides home to a compound, and then what?
And then nothing. The next morning, June 13th, 11 in the morning, she does not arrive at the church.
Her wedding.
Her wedding, guests seated, dress fitted and waiting, and she's simply not there. And here's the image I want burned into everyone's mind. When the family goes to find her, the iron gate to the compound is chained.
From the inside.
Chained and padlocked from the inside.
Okay, Jake, walk me through that physically because I need to picture it. The chain is on the courtyard side of the gate?
The chain is looped and locked on the inner side, meaning whoever secured that gate last was standing inside the compound.
So it's not a break-in? Nobody's climbing that wall and locking up behind themselves for fun?
That's the whole knot of this case, a locked room mystery, except the room is an entire family estate.
And the missing person is the one who was supposed to walk out of it in a wedding dress.
Her overnight bag packed, ready for the honeymoon, still sitting in the house.
That's not a runaway nobody packs, then abandons the packed bag, then locks themselves in and vanishes. That's staging, or that's a body.
Hold on to both of those. June 14th, her father goes to the Carabinieri station in nearby Sant'Elmo and files a missing person report.
2 days later. Why the wait?
Partly the chaos of a canceled wedding, partly, and this matters, a family hoping at first that she'd gotten cold feet, that she'd turn up.
The runaway bride theory, which in a small Italian town in '99 is the story people want to be true. It's less horrifying.
Much less, and that theory buys the real killer time.
Because every day the family thinks she'll come back is a day nobody's searching the ground.
6 days later, June 20th, searchers pull her bicycle out of a ravine along a tributary of the Basanto River.
But no Assunta.
No body, just the bike.
And the bike in the ravine, that reads like someone wanted a story, doesn't it? She fell. She had an accident on the road home.
That's exactly how it was read at the time. The working assumption became she left the office upset about something, cycled home in the dusk, and either fell or
was made to look like she fell.
But here's the crack in that. If she went into the ravine on the road, how does her bag end up packed inside the house? And how does the gate get chained from the inside?
It can't be both. Either she never made it home, or she made it home and someone staged the road.
The bicycle in the ravine was a decoy. Someone put it there.
Which means someone was thinking. This isn't a panic. Somebody made decisions that night, okay? I want to say something before we get into suspects, because I can already feel where my head's going.
Everybody in 99 is going to reach for passion. Jealous lover, jilted suitor, lover's quarrel gone wrong. That's the reflex in a wedding case. But I don't think this was ever about the heart.
You think it's the paperwork?
I think the motive is buried in that registry. She told a colleague she found problem pages. 2 days later, she's gone, and the gate's locked from the inside by someone with a key.
To me, the killer is whoever had both access to that gate and the most to lose from what she found on those pages.
See, I don't disagree that the land's at the center, but I want to flag where I'm going to push you all episode.
Please.
I keep coming back to the fiancé, Domenico, because a case like this, small town, tight family, land on the line, the truth doesn't just get committed by one person, it gets kept by several.
You think Domenico's dirty?
I think there's a difference between who swung and who stayed quiet afterward, and in these towns, silence is a currency. Somebody always knows. My money says the man who was 2 days from marrying her learned something and chose the land over the truth.
Ooh, so you're not even saying he did it, you're saying he covered.
I'm saying watch what he gets paid.
Okay, that's a spicy steak to plant this early, Jake. I'm writing it down. Follow what Domenico gets paid.
And I'll hold you to follow the pages.
Deal. 2 threads. Let's see which one pulls the whole thing loose.
Now, before either of our theories, we have to talk about the man the entire original investigation fixated on for 3 years.
The suitor.
Vincenzo Iaconelli, childhood neighbor of Assunta's. And when investigators went through her desk at the office, they found letters.
What kind of letters?
Anonymous. Over a year of them. Obsessive. And once they matched the handwriting, they landed on Vincenzo.
Oh, this is the profile investigators fall in love with. Fixated neighbor, unreciprocated, escalating written contact. On paper, he looks perfect.
It gets worse for him. Witnesses said he followed her to the notary's office, and there was a bar argument people remembered.
So he's visible. That's the key word. His disturbance is visible. Everybody in town can see it, so everybody points at it.
For 3 years, Christy. Surveillance on him, interviews, most of the investigative budget.
And here's the danger of that, right? When a suspect is that loud, that obvious, he becomes a heat sink. All the attention pours into him, and it pours away from everyone quieter.
And this is where the Vincenzo theory starts to leak. The night Assunta vanished. Where was he?
Let me guess. The bar he was arguing in?
The town bar, until well past midnight, corroborated by the owner's handwritten tab and 2 other patrons.
So the guy who looks like a stalker out of central casting has an actual alibi with paper behind it.
And more than that, in 3 years of surveillance and searching, not one piece of physical evidence ever tied him to her disappearance.
Not one. Jake, this is the part that makes me genuinely angry as a profiler. Because a fixation like Vincenzo's is real, it's disturbing, it deserved a look. But being a creep is not being a killer, and the investigation confused the two for 3 years.
And while they confused the two,
The pages. Somebody's dealing with the pages.
which is the perfect place to tell you what happened to the pages Assunta pulled that Saturday night.
The problem pages. Yes. Where are they?
Gone. The original disputed registry page she was looking at was never found in the archive.
Never found, meaning someone took it?
Meaning what's in the archive today is a later, cleanly refiled replacement page with a stamp date that doesn't match what it should.
Hold on. So while everybody's chasing this sad, obsessive man around town for 3 years,
The one document that could explain her murder gets quietly swapped out and refiled.
and nobody re-examines it because nobody's looking at the land, they're all looking at Vincenzo.
The discrepancy gets buried in paperwork nobody thinks to reopen for 25 years.
Okay, but Jake, this actually cuts toward my theory, not yours. Somebody with access to that archive swapped a page. That's a paperwork person. That's not a heartbroken fiancé at a restaurant.
Or it's someone who told a paperwork person to do it. Access can be borrowed, silence can be bought. That's my whole point.
Fair. Fair, but you feel that, right? The whole gravity of this case just shifted. It's not a crime of passion, it's a crime of property.
It shifted, I'll give you that much, this early.
Write that down too. Jake gave me something at minute 15.
Don't get used to it, because before we get near that swapped page and who benefits, we have to do the thing the original investigators never seriously did.
Which is
Look inward, at the people who had a key to that gate.
the family.
The family. And there's one man in that family whose name Assunta said out loud as the person she was going to confront on the last evening anyone saw her.
The uncle.
Rocco Bellofiore, estate manager, the man who ran the very terraces she was about to legally inherit a piece of.
And where does Rocco say he was that night?
A livestock auction, 2 hours away in Potenza, and he's got a receipt to prove it.
A receipt. Oh, I don't like the way you said receipt, Jake.
You shouldn't.
So walk me through Rocco. Who is he in this family exactly? Because uncle and estate manager are doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Rocco Bellofiore is Assunta's father's brother, and under the family's dowry structure, he's the one who runs the land day to day, manages the olive harvest, handles the leases, deals with the water.
So he's the one person who touches the money without technically owning the ground?
That's exactly his position. He's a steward. He controls an asset that legally belongs to the wider family.
Okay, that's a specific kind of pressure, right? Because a steward with a chip on his shoulder starts to feel like the land is his. He's the one sweating over it while the title sits with somebody else.
And now his niece, the trained one, the one who catches mistakes, is 2 days from marrying and taking full legal title to her slice of it.
And she's just told a colleague she found problem pages, and she's going to raise them with, say it again.
With her uncle, with Rocco by name.
So the last thing Assunta announces to the outside world is that she's about to confront the exact man who manages the land she's about to inherit. Jake, how is he not suspect number 1 in 99?
Because he did the one thing that makes a small town investigation look away. He grieved. Loudly, publicly, correctly. He was the uncle organizing the search. He was the family man comforting his brother.
Of course he was. The griever runs the search, so the search never turns around and looks at him.
And when they asked where he was the night of June 12th, he said Potenza, the livestock auction, 2 hours north.
And the receipt.
Produces a receipt. Dated, stamped, from the auction.
So why did you say receipt like it was a dead rat you found under the fridge?
Because when the case reopened in 24, somebody finally cross-checked that receipt against the actual auction calendar for that summer.
And
The date on Rocco's receipt is off by a week. The auction it references didn't happen the night Assunta vanished. It happened 7 days earlier.
oh, that is not a clerical slip. Hold on.
Now hold your fire, because in 99, nobody checked. He's family, he's grieving, the receipt has a stamp on it. They cleared Rocco in their own heads before the question was ever really asked.
And that's the whole rod, isn't it? An alibi is only as good as the person willing to verify it, and nobody wanted to make the grieving uncle cry by pulling an auction ledger.
They took the paper at face value because of who was holding it.
Which, okay, this is me conceding a point to you, Jake, because a false alibi is not something you forge alone. Somebody stamped that receipt. Somebody handed it to him.
File that, we'll come back to.
I'm not filing it. I'm circling it in the same red pen they should have used in 99.
But here's where I slow us both down. A bad receipt makes Rocco a liar. It doesn't make him a killer, and it definitely doesn't explain the gate.
The gate. Right. Chained from the inside.
Whoever locked that gate was standing in the compound. So even if Rocco's alibi is garbage, we need him inside those walls that night. Not on a road, not in Potenza.
And does he have a key to that gate?
Every adult in the family carried a compound key. Rocco lived his whole life on that land.
So he could lock it. Okay, but so could Assunta's father. So could anyone with the family key.
Which is why we can't stop at Rocco. There are other people standing close to those pages.
Give me the next one.
Ferruccio Manno, senior clerk at the notary's office, Assunta's colleague worked the desk beside her for years.
The colleague she may have said problem pages to on her way out?
Different colleague, but same office, same access. And here's what makes Ferruccio interesting. He had something to hide too.
Of course he did. What's his secret?
For years, Ferruccio had been skimming small notary fees, a little here, a little there, off the top of filings.
So a woman who catches mistakes in ledgers is a genuine threat to a man who's been quietly cooking the fees.
And his alibi has a wrinkle. The office sign-out log says he signed out at 7 in the evening, but that log was later found to have been altered
Altered the sign-out log? Jake, that's a huge...
in an unrelated section.
Oh, you did that on purpose.
I want you to feel how easy it is to see a monster in a coincidence. The log was tampered with, but in a spot that had nothing to do with June 12th.
So somebody messed with that log for a totally separate reason, and it just happens to look damning next to a disappearance.
That's the trap of this whole office. Everybody's got a small crime, and small crimes make everybody look big.
So where does Ferruccio actually land? Because as a profiler, embezzlement to murder is a real escalation ladder. People have killed to hide a lot less than years of skimming.
They have. But when the forensic accountants went through the office books in 24, they nailed down exactly what Ferruccio was doing.
And?
It was real. It was petty, small fees over several years, and it was completely disconnected from the Bellofiore land, from the water rights, from the disputed page, from any of it.
So his crime and her murder never touched.
Two separate rivers. His skimming was in the notary's fee column. What killed Assunta was in the land registry. Different ledger entirely.
Okay, so I clear Ferruccio, but reluctantly because behaviorally he had motive and opportunity and a guilty conscience. He's just guilty of the wrong thing.
Guilty of the wrong thing. That's half this case in 5 words.
Who else is in the family? You keep saying look inward. Give me the whole family tree of suspects.
There's a cousin, Ettore Bellofiore, Rocco's son.
Rocco's son. Okay, and does he have a stake in Assunta not inheriting?
On paper, theoretically, yes. He's a secondary heir. If Assunta doesn't take her share, the math changes in favor of Rocco's line, which means, eventually, Ettore.
So a young man with a financial reason to want his cousin gone? Where was he?
200 kilometers away, at university in Bari, with attendance records for that exact week.
Solid?
Solid. His alibi was never seriously in question. He was a student in a lecture hall on the coast while his cousin was disappearing in the hills.
So Park Ettore. But, and I'm just flagging it, a motive that benefits Rocco's line also benefits Rocco. Same money flows uphill to the same man.
Hold on to Ettore, though. Not for now. For later. He matters more than his alibi suggests.
Cryptic. I hate it. Continue.
Now I have to take us back to what the public was actually being told in those years, because while the family sits untouched, the town has a villain, and his name is Vincenzo.
The obsessive neighbor. The letters.
The press ran with him. Here's a fragment of a regional news broadcast from 2001, 2 years in, when the pressure on Vincenzo was at its peak.
Investigators in Castelverano confirm a local man remains the sole focus of the inquiry into the disappearance of 27-year-old Assunta Bellofiore, as sources describe a pattern of obsessive letters recovered from the victim's workplace.
Sole focus. They said it out loud. Sole focus.
Sole for years. And you can hear what that does. The whole town's certainty gets welded onto one man.
And this is the red herring in its purest form, isn't it? He wasn't invented. The letters were real. The following was real. The bar fight was real.
All real. That's what makes a red herring work. It's not a lie. It's a true thing pointed in the wrong direction.
Right, and Vincenzo did everything a guilty man would do behaviorally, except the one thing that matters.
Which is?
Be available to do it. He's in a bar with a paper tab and 2 witnesses until past midnight. His obsession was loud, but his body was accounted for.
And the cost of chasing him wasn't just wasted years. It was cover. Every month, the spotlight sat on Vincenzo was a month the swapped registry page sat in the archive, cooling.
The perfect crime doesn't need to be clever if the investigation hands you a scapegoat and looks away for 3 years.
Which brings us back to your thread. The pages.
The pages. Tell me what the document examiner found in 24, because you've been dangling this swapped page the whole episode.
Okay. When the case reopened, they pulled the archived microfilm of the land registry, and they brought in a forensic document examiner to look at that disputed page, the replacement.
The clean refiled one?
The examiner focused on the stamp date, the official date that says when that transfer was registered, and she found it had been altered using a technique common to notary offices of that era, a way of lifting and remarking a date stamp.
So the page is doctored. We knew something was wrong with it.
But here's the part that changes everything. The alteration wasn't hiding when the page was swapped. It was hiding when the fraud happened. And the real date underneath,
Don't you dare pause.
the real date underneath predates Assunta's disappearance by several weeks.
Wait, Jake, the fraud was already done before she vanished.
The forged transfer existed weeks before June 12th. It was sitting in the registry, complete, registered.
So she didn't stumble onto a fraud in progress. She stumbled onto a fraud already finished.
A done deal. Someone had already forged the transfer and sold off what they were going to sell.
Oh, this reframes the entire thing. Give me a second, because my whole timeline just flipped inside out. Okay, here's what this means. If the fraud was weeks old, then somebody inside the family had already committed it and was living with it. Quietly, successfully, nothing was going to blow up on its own.
Right. There's no ticking bomb.
Until Assunta, the one person trained to read a stamp date, sits down on a Saturday night, on her own time, and pulls the exact page that would expose a crime that was already safely buried.
She didn't threaten a scheme. She threatened a secret that was already put to bed.
And that's a totally different kind of danger, Jake. A crime in progress, people negotiate, a crime already committed and hidden. The only thing left to protect it is silence, and the only way to guarantee silence from a woman who just found the page
Is to make sure she never raises it with the uncle.
She told a colleague she'd take it to her uncle before the wedding. She thought she was flagging a filing error to family.
She thought she was being diligent. She had no idea she was walking a loaded confession straight to the one man it would bury.
And this is where your reflex suspect completely falls apart. A jealous suitor doesn't care about a stamp date on a water rights transfer. Vincenzo, the obsessive neighbor, has no idea that page even exists.
He doesn't. The land fraud is invisible to him.
So the midpoint here isn't just new evidence, it's a pivot. The motive was never in her love life, it was in the ground. And the only people who can see that motive are the ones close enough to the land to have committed the fraud in the first place.
And that is a very short list.
It's the man who manages the terraces and forged a transfer weeks before she died. Jake, I don't want to say it too early, but the arrow is pointing at one person.
I feel it too. But feeling it and proving it are 25 years apart. And I still have my thread to defend.
Go on. Defend Domenico. Because I'll be honest, the fiancé just got even less relevant to me. He's a trattoria owner. What does he know about water rights?
Here's my problem with letting Domenico off. His alibi for the night is airtight. A dozen witnesses at the trattoria preparing the reception from 6 in the evening past midnight.
So he didn't do it, same as we said.
For the killing? No. He's cleared for the killing, full stop. But nobody ever asked him the second question.
Which is not where were you that night, but what did you come to know afterward? Because the man was about to marry into that land, he had every reason to understand exactly what Assunta's title was worth and exactly who controlled it.
Okay, that's fair. He's not a water rights expert, but he's marrying into a dowry contract. He knows the shape of the deal.
And a grieving fiancé who suddenly stops asking questions, who lets the runaway bride story breathe, who doesn't push the family. That's a behavior.
You profile behaviors.
I do, and a fiancé going quiet can be grief. Genuine shattered grief looks like withdrawal. I'm not handing you a cover-up just because the man got quiet, Jake.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to watch what he receives.
The follow what Domenico gets paid line, you're still on it.
I'm always on it, because silence in a town like this is never free. It's traded. And if Domenico traded his, something came back the other way.
All right, counter question. You keep saying watch what he gets. Have you got a transfer in your pocket you haven't shown me?
I've got a thread I'm not ready to pull yet, but I'll tell you what nagged me from the file. Within a year of Assunta's disappearance, land moved around in that family. Quietly.
Land moved to Domenico.
I'm going to make you wait because I want to walk it in properly with the records. But yes, something changed hands.
Jake, you cannot drop something changed hands and then sip your water like a villain.
Watch me.
Fine. But here's where I'm planted and I'm not moving off it. Even if Domenico got a parcel, that's downstream. The blunt fact is this. Somebody killed her inside that compound, rechained a gate that only family keys open, and forged a page weeks before. Those three things live in one pair of hands.
Say the profile out loud then. Not the name, the profile.
Okay, three things. 1, access. This person had a compound key and knew he could rechain that gate from the inside and have it read as a mystery, not a member of the household. That's not a stranger. That's someone so woven into that family that locking the gate behind him would look like the family locking up for the night.
Chilling detail when you put it that way. The lock itself was camouflage.
2. Knowledge. He knew what was on that registry page and why it mattered. That's not a suitor and it's not a fee-skimming clerk. That's someone who committed the land fraud himself. And 3. Opportunity that night, plus a false alibi somebody was willing to stamp for him.
And when you overlay those 3 circles,
They only intersect on one man. The estate manager, the uncle who forged the transfer, carried the key, and produced a receipt for an auction that happened the week before.
Rocco.
Rocco. And here's the thing that actually turns my stomach, Jake. She was bringing it to him to help. She trusted him enough to say, "Uncle, I think there's an error. Let's fix it before the wedding."
She handed her killer the warning herself.
Not out of naivety, out of decency. She assumed everyone else was as honest as she was.
But feeling certain and closing it are different animals. Because here's what we still cannot do. Sitting here, we cannot prove Rocco was inside that compound that night. His alibi was bad, yes. A bad alibi isn't a confession.
Right. He lied about Potenza doesn't put his hands on that chain.
And Rocco is not sitting in an interview room where we can break him. Remember the timeline? Rocco Bellofiore died in 2019.
Of natural causes. Estate intact. Never charged, never even seriously suspected.
20 years after the murder, he dies an old man on the land he stole. His son Ettore inherits the terraces.
Ettore, the cousin you told me to hold on to.
The one with the airtight alibi. Yeah, hold him one more minute.
So if Rocco's dead and buried before the remains are even found, how does this case ever break? A dead man can't confess, and a bad receipt from 1999 isn't enough.
It doesn't break because of anything a detective does. It breaks because a foreign energy company decides to put solar panels on an olive terrace.
The agrivoltaic array. The thing from your cold open.
April 24. First real disruption to that ground in generations. A backhoe operator is clearing for the panels, and at 1.4 meters down, he hits something that isn't stone.
And I want to hear it because you told me there's a recording.
The site foreman was filming the dig on his phone for the company's progress log. It's mundane footage, right up until it isn't. Here's the moment the operator signals to stop.
Stop! Stop the machine, stop! That's not a root. That's everybody off. Nobody touch it. Call someone. That's bone.
That's bone. God. And that's on her own family's land.
1.4 meters under the Bellofiore terraces, under the olive trees, Rocco managed his entire life.
He buried her under the very thing he killed her to keep.
And walked those rows every harvest for 20 years.
So they've got remains. How do they know before the DNA that it's a Santa? 25 years in acidic soil, that's not an easy identification.
The first thing that told them was small, and it was intact. A silver bracelet engraved with 2 letters, a period B.
A. B. Assunta Bellofiore.
A christening gift from her mother, clasp still closed. It came out of the ground with her after 25 years, still fastened.
Oh, that undoes me a little. The clasp still closed. She was wearing it. She had it on the night she rode home.
And then the anthropologist looked at the bones themselves. And that's where the runaway bride story, the ravine accident story, all of it dies for good.
Tell me what the body said.
Blunt force trauma to the skull and a fracture to the left forearm, the kind you get throwing your arm up.
A defensive fracture. Jake, that's a fight. That's her seeing it coming and getting an arm up.
Not a fall into a ravine, not an accident on a dark road, a struggle. Someone struck her.
So the bicycle in the ravine wasn't just a decoy, it was a lie told about how she died. Somebody wanted poor girl fell off her bike, and the whole time she was fighting for her life inside those walls.
And whoever staged that bike knew there was a body to hide. You don't stage an accident for someone who ran away.
No, you stage it for someone you buried, and you only bury her on that land if you're never afraid of that land being dug up.
Which for 25 years, he never was. Because who digs up their own olive terraces?
Until a solar company does. Okay, so we've got trauma, we've got the bracelet, we've got a fraud that predates her death, and a dead uncle with a fake receipt. That's a mountain of suspicion pointing one direction, and not one thing that would have stood up in a courtroom while he was alive.
Not one. And that's exactly the wall the reopened case hits in 24. They are morally certain and legally empty-handed.
So something has to give them the man himself. His own words, his own paper. Please tell me the ledger from the title is about to walk on stage.
It's about to, but not the way you think. Because the person who hands investigators Rocco Bellofiore isn't a detective, and it isn't a witness.
Don't tell me.
It's his own son, clearing out his dead father's house.
His son, Ettore, The cousin with the lecture hall alibi.
24. His father's been dead 5 years. The remains have just come out of the terrace, and Ettore is doing the most ordinary thing in the world, emptying the family house to sell it or to rent it to the solar people.
And in a house that man lived in his whole life, what does he find?
In the back of a cupboard, half-destroyed, burned ledger fragments. Pages Rocco had tried to put in a fire and didn't finish the job.
Tried to burn. So Rocco knew what those pages were worth.
He knew exactly. But here's a man in his 70s alone, feeding paper into a stove. Some of it caught, some of it curled at the edges and dropped out, and he never noticed or never bothered.
Or told himself no one would ever look. 20 years of thinking you got away with it makes you sloppy about the evidence, Jake.
Complacency is its own confession. And Ettore hands the charred fragments to the police.
He turns in his own father.
He turns in his own father.
Okay, so what did the fragments actually say once they're reconstructed? Because burned paper isn't self-explanatory.
They bring in a forensic accountant, and piece by piece, she reassembles a second set of books, not the family's official accounts, Rocco's private ledger.
The real numbers.
The real numbers. And they show a pattern of diverted income. Water rights mostly sold off quietly over a span of more than a decade, from land Rocco managed but did not own.
More than a decade, so this wasn't one bad year, one desperate sale. This was a career.
A slow, patient theft. He sold water the family didn't know they'd lost, forged the transfer to cover it, and pocketed the difference year after year.
And that's the thing about a fraud like that. It only survives if the ledgers never get read by someone who knows how to read them.
And then his niece gets formally trained and takes a job at the notary's office.
The one place every deed in the valley passes through. Oh, he must have watched her get that job with his stomach in knots.
Now overlay the ledger onto the document examiner's finding. The forged transfer predates her death by several weeks. The private ledger shows the income stream it was hiding runs back over a decade.
So the timeline finally locks. Rocco commits the fraud. It sits quiet. Assunta, doing her own diligence before her wedding, pulls the page and spots the stamp. That's wrong.
She tells a colleague she'll raise it with her uncle.
She rides home to the compound. And the one man who could not survive that conversation is a man with a key to the gate.
And that's the whole case, in a straight line. Except it still isn't a conviction. Because everything I just said, a defense lawyer picks apart if Rocco were alive.
The fraud proves motive. It doesn't put him inside the walls that night.
Right. And this is where the last piece walks in. Because remember what you circled in red, the receipt didn't stamp itself.
Somebody backdated it for him.
Somebody did. And in 25, that somebody was still alive.
The livestock trader.
An elderly livestock dealer who did business with Rocco for decades, in poor health by 25. And when investigators came to him with the receipt and the mismatched date, the loyalty that held for 26 years just let go.
Old men on the way out stop protecting other men who are already gone.
They recorded his statement. I want to play a piece of it.
Rocco asked me to write the date a week early. He said it was for the tax man. A small thing, so the auction fell in a different quarter. I owed him. I swear to you, I never thought it was for a girl.
I never thought it was for a girl. God, Jake. He handed a killer his alibi, believing it was a tax dodge.
Rocco told him exactly enough to get the favor and not one word more.
That's the control talking. That's a man who compartmentalized everyone around him. The trader got a lie size just for him. The family got the grieving uncle. Assunta got the trusted relative.
And with that statement, the alibi doesn't just weaken, it inverts. It stops being Rocco's shield and becomes proof he manufactured a story for a specific night.
You don't backdate a receipt for a night you spent innocently at home. The lie is the tell.
So now line them all up, the fraud that predates her death, the forged page she found, the false alibi he had built for that exact evening, the bicycle staged in a ravine to sell an accident, the gate rechained from the inside by someone with a family key.
And her in the ground under his olive trees with a defensive fracture in her arm.
Every one of those circles closes on one man. Rocco Bellofiore killed his niece the night before her wedding, not in a rage of passion, to protect a decade of quiet theft that her one honest page was about to expose.
And then he walked back to that gate and chained it from the inside so the whole town would spend 25 years asking how she vanished from a locked compound.
The lock wasn't a mystery he stumbled into. It was a mystery he built. It was misdirection.
He weaponized the strangeness of it. He knew a gate chained from the inside would send everyone looking for something impossible, a phantom, an intruder who could pass through walls, anything but the man who lived inside them.
And it worked. For a quarter of a century, The strangest detail in the case pointed everyone away from the simplest answer.
Jake, say it back to me slowly because I want to make sure I'm not getting swept up. The gate is chained from the inside. Only family keys open that gate.
Right.
Which means from the very first morning, the morning her father stood there, staring at that chain, the answer was already inside the fence. The killer was never someone who broke in, it was someone who never had to.
Someone the family let sleep under their own roof.
That chain wasn't the locked room puzzle everyone thought it was. It was a signature. It told you the killer was family the very first day, and for 25 years, everyone read it exactly backwards.
The clue that was supposed to be impossible was actually the confession. Rocco just trusted that nobody would read it that way.
And they didn't. They ran outward to the obsessive neighbor, to the clerk with the sticky fingers, when the lock itself was pointing straight in.
So here's where I have to be honest on air. You called it, Christy. At minute 10, you said this was never jealousy, that the motive was buried in the paperwork, and the killer was whoever had the gate and the most to lose from the page. That's Rocco, line for line.
I'll take it, but I don't want to spike the ball because you weren't chasing a ghost either. I told you the fiancé was irrelevant to me. A restaurant owner, what does he know about water rights? I was ready to write Domenico out entirely.
And I kept saying, watch what he gets paid.
So, did land change hands or not? You've been sitting on that thread like a smug little cat all episode.
It changed hands. When they pulled the transfer records in 24, they found that within a year of Assunta's disappearance, a parcel of Bellofiore Terrace moved to Domenico Lo Surdo.
From Rocco.
From Rocco. The estate manager handed the grieving almost son-in-law a piece of the very land his fiancée died over.
Okay, I have to sit with that for a second. Because on its own, a grieving fiancé being given a little land by the family isn't damning. That could be a gesture. Condolence, you were gonna be one of us.
It could be, but look at the timing and the direction. It flows from the one man who needed silence to the one man positioned to ask the loudest questions.
The fiancé who suddenly went quiet.
Domenico had every reason to hound that family for the rest of his life. His bride vanished 2 days before the wedding, and instead he lets the runaway bride story breathe, he stops pushing, and inside a year he's holding a parcel of Bellofiore ground.
So you were right, I'm saying it plainly. His alibi cleared him of the killing, a dozen witnesses at the restaurant that never wobbled. But his silence afterward wasn't grief. Or it wasn't only grief.
It was bought.
It was bought. Rocco didn't just kill her and stage a gate. He read the one person who could keep the pressure on, and he paid that pressure off in the currency of that town, land.
Same currency the whole crime was denominated in from the start.
So we were both half right, and I hate how neat that is.
I don't think either of us gets to be fully right on this one, and I think that's honest to the case. You had the killer, I had the cover.
And here's what still gets under my skin. Domenico committed no violence, nothing we can see. He wasn't there, he didn't lift a hand.
But he knew, not that night maybe, but at some point, holding that deed, a man like Domenico understood what he was really being paid for.
And he chose the land, same as Rocco chose the land over his own niece. This whole case is people choosing dirt over a human being, one after another.
The traitor chose a favor, the town chose an easy villain, Domenico chose a parcel.
And Assunta chose to fix a filing error before her wedding because she thought honesty was normal. She's the only one in the entire story who chose the right thing.
And I want to go back and recontextualize something, because it lands differently now. Ferruccio's altered sign-out log.
The one you told me was tampered with in an unrelated section. You framed that so carefully.
Because that's the lesson of the whole investigation in 99. Everywhere they looked, they found a small crime, and every small crime looked like it might be the big one. Ferruccio's skimming, Vincenzo's letters, the tampered log.
A whole town full of tiny guilts, and the noise of all those little frauds was perfect cover for the one that actually killed her.
Rocco didn't even have to hide in the dark. He hid in a crowd of other people's secrets.
That's the thing. Profilers always have to fight, Jake. Guilt is not evidence of the crime you're investigating. Half those men had something to sweat about. Only one of them had a niece in the ground. So how does it end, officially? Rocco's dead. You can't try a dead man.
You can't. There's no trial, no verdict, no cell. Rocco Bellofiore died in 2019, an old man on stolen land, and he was never so much as charged.
That's the part that's going to sit wrong with people. He won. For his whole life, he won.
He did, but the truth is out now, on the record. In 25, the Italian police formally named Rocco Bellofiore as responsible for Assunta's death. The fraud, the forgery, the killing. The mitochondrial DNA confirmed her identity. The ledger confirmed his motive. The traitor confirmed his lie.
Mitochondrial, that's the maternal line, right? Why not regular DNA?
The nuclear DNA in the remains was too degraded. 25 years in acidic soil destroyed it. So they went to the mitochondrial line, traced a maternal relative, and matched it.
The same acidic soil that ate the standard DNA is the soil he chose to bury her in. And the mother's line, the line that gave her that bracelet, is what finally named her.
Her mother's christening gift got her name out of the ground, and her mother's bloodline confirmed it in a lab. There's a symmetry there I can't shake.
Can we talk about her for a second? Not the fraud, not the gate, her. Because she gets so easily buried under the mechanics of this thing, and I refuse to let her be.
Please.
Assunta Bellofiore was 27. She was 2 days from a marriage she wanted. She was good at a difficult, careful job in a place that ran on exactly that carefulness. And on her last free Saturday night, she chose to work, unpaid, on her own time because a page didn't sit right and she couldn't let it go.
The trait that made her exceptional at her job?
Was the trait he killed her for? I said it at the top of the episode and I stand by every word. Her diligence put her in direct conflict with the one relative who controlled the land. She didn't do anything reckless. She did her job well. That was the crime in his eyes.
She brought a problem to family, expecting family to help fix it.
Because that's who she was, and the horror of it isn't a locked gate or a backhoe, it's that her decency was the thing he used against her. He counted on her coming to him first.
When the Italian police finally announced their conclusion, the regional news that had once called Vincenzo the sole focus ran a very different line. Here's the 25 broadcast.
After 26 years, Italian police have confirmed that Assunta Bellofiore was killed by her uncle, estate manager Rocco Bellofiore, over a forged land transfer, clearing Vincenzo Iaconelli, the man wrongly suspected for years, who died still under the shadow of this case.
Who died still under the shadow of this case. So the red herring didn't just cost the investigation. It cost a living man his name.
Vincenzo never got to hear. He was cleared. He carried that suspicion to his own grave because his disturbance was loud and Rocco's was silent.
2 men wronged by the same killer. One he murdered. One he let the whole town crucify in his place.
What gets me closing this is the ordinariness of how it broke. No detective's flash of genius, a solar company, a backhoe, a son cleaning out a cupboard.
Rocco protected this for 25 years by making sure no one would ever dig up his olive trees. And the one thing he couldn't predict was the future deciding those terraces would be worth more with panels on them than trees.
Progress dug her up, not justice, progress.
And his own blood turned him in. Ettore could have burned those fragments the rest of the way and sold the house clean. He didn't. He handed them over.
The son answered the question the father spent a lifetime burying.
There's a strange justice in that, even without a courtroom. The land he killed for gave her back, and the son he did it all for is the one who named him. Assunta Bellofiore.
27 years old, found one wrong page and was right about it to the very end.
She found the mistake. It just took the ground 25 years to agree with her.
That's the Bellofiore case.
She rode home to fix a filing error, and her own family's land kept the answer for a quarter of a century.
Answered at last by a backhoe and a son, not a detective. And Christy, you had the killer before I finished my coffee.
Next week, I finally get to bring you one I've been holding on to for months. The kind of case a profiler waits for, where the reason underneath everything is stranger and quieter than the crime on the surface. I've genuinely been itching to sit down with it. Follow the show so it lands in your feed and come be in the room when we open it.